Good morning, Metalheads Unite. Welcome to a new episode of the Metal Meltdown, and today we're looking at the latest album from Sunn entitled Life Metal. Properly reviewing a Sunn album is insanely difficult because this is an insanely difficult band. Like, it's not nearly as simple as listening to, frankly, any meat and potatoes heavy metal record and going, this has some cool riffs, 3 out of 5, boom, end of story. No, Sunn requires a lot more patience, a lot more time, a lot more understanding and knowledge, frankly. I don't mean that to say that you have to have, like, a certain level of intelligence to listen to this band. That's just plain cocky. But this does require a level of insight that most metal doesn't necessarily require, that most music doesn't require. Like, let's put it this way, you wouldn't give a super expensive bottle of wine to somebody who just became a legal adult and expect a well-informed opinion on it. No, they would probably just tear the fucking top off and drink the whole fucking thing like it was fucking Kool-Aid. Sunn is and always has been that expensive bottle of wine. Nearly all of their records require genuine patience, understanding, and insight. It's an extremely literal and impressive level of consistency and complexity that we don't really see from a lot of experimental bands at all, let alone experimental bands within metal. Which is made all the more impressive when you look at all the work that Sunn has done even outside of their regular discography. I mean, they've done massive collaborative records with Boris, Attila Shazar from Mayhem, Scott Walker, the latter of which is actually one of my favorite Sunn records since we're on the topic. And now that brings us to this record, Life Metal, the first entry in a two-part series, which is going to see Sunn exploring different types of sonic textures and layers and musical sensibilities, with this record in particular focusing more on spacey atmospheres and droning ambient guitars and passages. It's more tranquil and more peaceful. Sunn themselves have noted this, even jokingly referring to the album as the antithesis of black metal, hence the title Life Metal. Normally with these two-part albums, I would wait until part 2 comes out, but considering how massive this album is on its own, I really don't want to wait for part 2, especially when we don't know exactly when that part 2 is coming or what it's going to be about. Apparently it's going to be the much more extreme counterpart to this, but we don't know that for sure just yet, and we frankly won't know until we hear some music from it. So for now, I'm just going to try and judge Life Metal on its own as a standalone record, which, as I've noted before, is going to be very difficult because it's fucking Sunn. But I'm going to try my best and give you my honest opinion on what this album does for me. First off, I do like the more tranquil side of the band represented here. I know some bands see this as an insult, you know, when people say that it's a kind of record you can fall asleep to, but I literally mean that. This is a very atmospheric and pleasant listen. Despite static and droning guitars and wailing vocals and odd bits and pieces and rough edges, it is a surprisingly chill, laid-back, and atmospheric album, at least on its surface level. Digging deeper, you can definitely pull a lot more out. In fact, many people have, if you look at some of the comment sections for any video associated with this album. But for me personally, I don't need to dig deeper because I get enough on surface level. And also, I'm trying not to dig too deep because Sunn is such an odd band and because this is, again, a two-parter. All the jokes that all of us have made about Sunn are still true on this album. At times, it does kind of feel like one giant sprawled-out guitar riff. Yeah, it is insanely fucking slow, even for the standards of Sunn. But if you are aware of Sunn, then at this point, these are things you've either accepted or haven't accepted, and there's almost no point in changing your mind. And that's perfectly fine. Sunn invokes a lot of different responses for a lot of different peoples. And that's part of what also makes Life Metal so fascinating, is that so many people are going to get so many different things out of this record. Some people are going to keep digging, and they're going to find a legitimate artistic masterpiece here. Take, for instance, this comment from YouTube user Ding Dong, saying, "This is a true indication of creative genius to take a base as potentially narrow and limiting as Doom Drone, but to expand and explore upon it album after album to create yet another masterpiece, as we hear here." He's made up his mind, and there's nothing wrong with that. On the flip side, you'll probably have plenty of people complaining that the album is repetitive, and that it's tepid, and the pace is grueling, and those people aren't really wrong. In fact, I agree with those criticisms, but here's the thing. all of those things are done intentionally to achieve this effect. Sunn have definitely stripped down a lot and have done a much more emotionally raw and revealing record, I would say. But yeah, all the common criticisms that people have for Sunn remain. With all that in mind, I guess the only other thing I can say is that, going back to my comment about this being an expensive bottle of wine, is that you have to approach this with the same patience and care that a wine connoisseur would bring to a bottle of wine. And if you're not a wine connoisseur, that's fine. You can still get stuff out of this album. It's just, you might not get what you think you're going to get. For me personally, I would give this thing a 3.5 out of 5. I have really enjoyed digging into this album's layers. I really enjoyed the more peaceful, tranquil side of the band, and I'm impressed that they can create something this emotionally captivating with an incredibly minimalistic sound. No doubt we can also thank producer Steve Albini for that, who is one of rock's best fucking producers, and I cannot wait to see him collaborate more with Sunn in the future. He's fucking fantastic. But I also understand that this is, frankly, at the very core, another Sunn record, and it's not going to be for everyone. And if I can actually direct you to another comment from this previous YouTube user Ding Dong, he actually says something pretty interesting here. People ask me, is this really music though? I tell them, lay on a bed in a darkened room, close your eyes, and listen to this on some good quality headphones. Afterwards you'll have your answer. But don't bother sharing it, as that answer is simply personal to you. And honestly, I couldn't put it better myself. You are completely, totally valid and even correct in how you feel about this album. Everyone is going to get something completely different from it. Some people are going to see a massive art piece. Some people are going to think that it's tired and recycled. I found a nice, chill, relaxing, atmospheric drone record, something that I don't normally get from the previous records. I have found them to be a bit too droning and mechanical and dark for my personal liking. With that in mind, I'm worried that this next record will fall victim to those same issues that I have personally had. But that being said, it could work the other way. It could actually create a really great contrast alongside life metal, and Sunn could be on the verge of their most daring record yet. Who knows? That's something that we won't really be able to decide until that next album, but nonetheless. 3.5 out of 5, I think this is one of my favorite Sunn records. I'm very curious to see where this experiment will continue to go, and I'm very curious to see how some of you respond as well. Do you think this is a massive fucking artistic statement and it's excellent and beautiful and amazing? Do you think it's a bunch of recycled riffs? Let me know, because this album is really fascinating. I really want to hear some genuine good debate out of this record. Once again, for me personally, 3.5 out of 5. It's another extremely complex record from Sunn that's, again, extremely difficult to review, but definitely worth your time regardless of which way you swing. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately, and you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.